So I've kind of always been able to get some sort of at least like semi-passive income, at least more passive than having like a normal job. Nothing I've done has been like completely passive, but I would consider that I've made quite a bit of passive income doing a few different things. And I think the main reason why is just because I hate work. Just don't like to work. I'm always looking for some way to make a lot of money with very little amount of my time. And I am willing to put in a lot of work up front to hopefully create something that can do that in the future. And I think that's actually the main thing, or the main sort of ability that will help you get very passive income, is the ability to put in a lot of work now when you're not going to see the rewards until way later in the future. What is that called? Delayed, I forget what it's called, but you know what I mean. And I think that the more passive the income is, the more that's true. So the more passive the income is, the longer it's going to take to see rewards for the work you're putting in now. And that's what makes it very difficult to obtain. Like, a lot of people say there's no such thing as truly passive income. Well, that's bullshit. Of course there is. You can have passive investments like this, like the stock market. I'm not talking about playing the stock market or even hiring someone else to like manage a portfolio. If you put money into the S&P 500, that is passive income. I think over the life of the S&P 500, it's gotten like 8% return per year, and that's taking into account all of the market crashes and stuff. It's around 8%. I don't know exactly, you can look it up. So say you put $1 million into the S&P 500. 8% of $1 million is $80,000. So you could easily take out, I don't know, let's see, to be safe, you could easily take out like a $60,000 or a $50,000 salary from that every single year. And I think that million should still grow, actually, because on average you get like 80,000 per year. And since the compounding interest, if you're letting the seed money, the $1 million grow, you'll keep getting more and more interest. If you started out just taking out 60,000, you'd have a salary that would just keep going from that and keep getting bigger as well. And that is completely passive. But obviously getting $1 million, unless you just get lucky and inherit it or win the lottery, is going to be very difficult. It'll take a lot of upfront work to make that $1 million. And that's what I'm saying. Like, the more passive something is, the more upfront work it will take. Because yeah, you could put like $1,000 into the S&P 500, but 8% of that is only $80. So that's like basically nothing. And that a year is basically nothing. But anyway, I've always been able to manage to get pretty passive income during my life. And ever since a little kid, I think I had kind of the entrepreneur spirit ever since I was like a teenager. And I kind of just want to go over all the different things I've done and talk about them, and hopefully somebody, get inspiration or learn something, or spark an idea or something that will help them to also get passive income. And I hope as passive as you want and make as much money as you want. So I remember even as a little kid, I remember my dad was a carpenter, but he worked for himself. He never worked for another company. He was self-employed. But I remember thinking, like, why he never hired someone else to help him out or do some work for him. I never understood. I was just like, why didn't he do that? And I think he just didn't have the mindset for that, or didn't want to do it. I don't know. But even if he had just hired one other person, he could have made more money, or he could have, if he maybe made the same amount of money, he could have just worked less hours or worked less hard or something. It probably would have benefited him a lot. And he would have been able to socialize more at work and be less alone, which probably would have benefited him as well too. I don't know, maybe it would have just stressed him out more. But if it was me, I would have started hiring people. I would have wanted to start building it up to where I didn't even have to do any of the physical work and I could just hire people out. But that's just me. I'm always trying to do stuff like that. So the first sort of, I guess you'd call it a passive income, thing that I did was when I was a teenager. I didn't really make any money from it, but I wouldn't recommend doing this. It's a bad habit. I actually regret doing it. I think it affected me in negative ways. But I used to smoke weed or marijuana when I was a teenager, like in high school. But it cost quite a bit of money. And this was back before it was legal as well. You know, it cost like $40 to get an eighth. It's not like it is now in the places where it's legal. It cost a lot of money. And I could have bought that myself, the amount that I wanted to smoke, and paid for it. I had like a dishwashing job. But, you know, my mind was like, well, how can I get this for free? So what I did was, one of my friends had like a hookup, probably from his older brother. I don't know, some older friend that he had through his older brothers. He had older brothers. So what I did was started buying an ounce of weed. Believe it cost $240 for me. And I could smoke, it was either like an eighth or a quarter ounce out of that for myself, and sell the rest of it in eighths or quarters, and then I could get what I was smoking for free. It was either an eighth or a quarter, I can't remember now. And then I would get the same amount of money back and keep buying the ounce and just repeating that process over and over again. And the money that I was making, like dishwashing and stuff, I was able to save that and just like save up some more money. And the next thing I did was actually, and this was a really stupid thing, by the way. It was illegal. It was in New York State. It was very illegal then. They had like really strict laws against this stuff. So I would not recommend doing this, unless maybe if you're in a state where it's legal. But later what happened is I actually ended up growing weed, and this was in California. This was before it was fully legal, but I was selling it all to the medical dispensaries, and I was very aware that like even if I got caught or something, the worst that could happen is just kind of like confiscate everything, and then I just have to quit. Like I wouldn't have went to prison for it, at least not for any long amount of time. I don't think I would have went to prison at all, because it was like very legal, and I was doing it on a small scale. It wasn't like a big warehouse or anything, but doing that was pretty passive. Like most of the time the weed is just growing, and there was a lot of work that I did as well, but the average day I would just work for like an hour. The system was automated. I had like pumps set up on timers, so it would just water itself every single day, and all I really had to do was just check like the pH of the water and adjust it, check that all the pumps were working and they were all going off and everything was working well. And then aside from that, there was a lot of work to do around like harvest time. That was when the main bulk of the work got done. But I did like hire quite during that, the main work was trimming it all. I did it like, we did it by hand. I had to hire people to do most of that. And friends would help me, I had to hire them. And then the main work was like cleaning out all the grow rooms and like starting over again. But I could get that done, I don't know, in like a couple weeks or something. And the grow cycle was like 3 months. I don't know, maybe every 2 months or whatever. I was, you know, working harder for like a week or two straight or something. And then a lot of the work was selling it too, because I would sell it to the dispensaries, but I had to drive around to all of them, and you'd end up driving to ones a lot who wouldn't end up buying it, so that was kind of a bitch. And then also they wouldn't pay you up front, which is really weird. When you'd give them like a pound of weed for $2,800 is around what I was selling it for each pound. And they wouldn't give you the money up front. They'd give you a slip, and then you'd have to go back there in like a week or whatever they'd tell you to collect the money, which is really weird, but they always paid it. I never really had any problems, other than a couple of dispensaries just took a long time to pay me, but I never had one that just didn't pay me. There was actually one, too, that they called me up and said they couldn't sell it, and then made me come back, and like, this was only one. It was up in Vallejo, too. I hate that city. I think it's just a shithole, but they made me come up and like take back most of the weed back, which was like partial pounds. I was so mad. And then I learned later when I sold it again, they weighed it, that like they hadn't actually paid me for all of it. Like somebody had been stealing little bits out of it and smoking or something. But anyway, that was the next thing I did that was pretty passive, and the passivity of that allowed me to focus on basically like my dating life and my social life, because I had a lot of social anxiety and stuff like that. And it was something I needed to do. I needed to put a lot of time into socializing and dating and stuff, which I did for many years, and that business allowed me to do that. It actually got like my first, it was like my second girlfriend. My first one was long distance. It was kind of bad. This is my first girlfriend who was actually like lived, near me and she ended up living with me for a while. And I was able to do that because of this. So another great thing about passive income is it will allow you to like pursue things in your life or work on other things in your life that will benefit you a lot other than just money. Like, there are a lot of benefits to having more free time and not having to work 9 to 5. And then I ended up having to quit that. Something got messed up with the mother plants. This is what I called. I had like the mother plants are ones I would take clones from every time we'd start the grow cycle again. And I had ones with like really, really good genetics. They're making me a lot of money. They're my best ones. And the mother plants got messed up. I'd gotten them a long time ago from seed and gotten lucky. I don't like the lighting right here. And I wasn't able to find them again. And then I kept putting more money into trying to buy clones and stuff. Couldn't find anything good. Ended up having to quit. I would have had to quit about a year later anyway, as the weed started to get legalized because it wasn't worth any money then. And you couldn't just sell it straight to the dispensaries like I was because they made different laws around it and regulations and everything. But anyway, the next thing that I tried to do was like drop shipping, which that can be a very passive thing. You can build up a big business from that. What drop shipping is, if you're not aware, is you start out with just like it's like an e-commerce store. You're selling physical goods, but the problem with is doing physical goods is you need to spend money on inventory up front. With drop shipping, you don't have to do that. If you're interested in this, just YouTube it. You can learn all this stuff for YouTube for free, or you can buy a course if you want. I actually bought a small course for like $40 a month. It was a good course. Ended up trying that for a bit, but what it is so anyway, with drop shipping though, the goods are in China. So you find them really, really cheap off of like AliExpress. And you'll find something that costs like $3 and then you'll be selling it for like 15 or 20 or whatever. And what you do have to put money up for like the advertising and stuff like that. But and the main work of it was just testing out all these products with like Facebook ads. And then you have to find one that where it just takes off and it's selling a lot more than the ads cost and you make a profit. And it's automated. The site, it works through Shopify, and it's automated to where when somebody puts in an order, it'll automatically put in the order in AliExpress and put in their address and ship it to them. It's really cool. It's interesting. And once you find a good product or get bigger, you can start buying the inventory in bulk yourself and getting it shipped to the US. But it's like a safe way to start out with drop shipping because you're not buying a bunch of inventory up front that you might not even be able to sell. You probably won't be able to sell if you're first starting because you won't know what you're doing. But anyway, I ended up quitting that because I just didn't like the work very much. I just didn't like it. There were a few things I didn't like about it. I didn't like doing the work, just like searching for the ads and doing all the work. And then there were just like these junk products that I wasn't into that I was testing out. I didn't like the fact that I'd be selling junk products that would ended up being thrown out and being like bad for the environment. And I wasn't really into that either. But anyway, I'd started learning about flipping cars around the same time and started doing that. And I decided to just go full into like the flipping cars thing and not do the e-commerce thing. Maybe in hindsight, I maybe wish I had stuck with the e-commerce thing because flipping cars is a lot harder to get passive. I mean, obviously you can go to where you have like a full dealership and then where you're just hiring people to run that for you, but that's like huge. I didn't have any inclinations of opening up like a full dealership, but I actually bought a course for that too. I found this guy on YouTube who was teaching it. The channel is still there. It doesn't work on it. It's called, I think you search like Boss Flipper, car flipping. It should come up. Pretty interesting. You can learn everything for free, but I did buy his course for like $200. It was definitely worth it. But so I ended up doing that. I was flipping the cars part-time for a little bit. And then I saved up like 12 grand doing that. I was working Amazon delivery and like these other, like Instacart for a while, doing these crappy delivery services. I hated doing those jobs. And I was doing those because like the hours were flexible and it would allow me to like work on my own thing as well. Also for a while, I tried to do a dog walking thing too. Dog walking you can also turn into a very passive business, and I got it started where I had like 2 or 3 full-time clients. I think I had like 2 full-time clients, and I had 1 part-time one for a little while. Dog walking can be very good, and even though it isn't, maybe even if I did it myself, I had my own dog and was walking my dog every day anyway. So it's like, why not get paid to do that? It'd take a bit more time. You got to drive around and pick up the other dogs, but it's still sort of passive if it's something I'm already doing anyway. Like right now I'm making YouTube videos. I'm just kind of hiking. I already like hiking anyway. Why not just film and talk? And then if I make money from it, it's sort of passive anyway, even though it does take some extra time. But the dog walking thing would be very easy to expand and make passive, because even if you get enough clients just for yourself, you get like 5 or 6 full-time clients, 5 or 6 dogs. You can walk all those dogs at once. You can hire someone else to do that. And you can pay them, like way less than they're paying you, because you did all the marketing and everything and set anything up. And then you can expand it and get more and more dogs, and you could hire one person to do like 2 shifts a day, like 2 walks. You could probably get like 10 dogs. You do like 5 different dogs with each walk, 10 to 12 dogs or something like that. You could make a pretty good income from that. And then obviously you could just keep scaling it up and up. Like there's no limit to how big you could scale that business. You could turn it into like a nationwide business. That was another reason why I got into the dog thing. Because I've never been like super into, and I don't want to get super into anything or put a lot of time into it unless it at least has the capability of being like it can turn it into a big thing like that and make it passive. But I ended up trying to flip cars. The dog walking thing failed because right when I got up to those clients, what happened? I just didn't have enough money. The money that I had left over from the weed growing business almost ran out. And then I got offered this one job, so I pretty much had to take it because I wasn't making enough from the dog walking thing, which sucked. And of course, right when I quit doing the dog walking thing, like a few days later, like 1 or 2 people contacted me that were interested, because for a while I wasn't getting any new clients. Like if I just could have gotten like 2 or 3 more full-time clients, I would have been fine. My life probably might be completely different. I might have a big dog walking business now, who knows. But I ended up doing the car flipping thing. I was able to save up $12,000 in cash, and I was like, all right, I'm going to try for like a year just to do this, or I'm going to try to do this full time, just see what happens. And I wasn't able to make enough money to do it full time. On average, I was making about $2,000 a month. I was making on average about $1,000 per car, like 2 cars a month. But it just wasn't quite enough to pay all the bills and everything. So I ended up doing the Amazon delivery thing. I quit that I hated it so much. I ended up started doing that again on the side, and I hated it even more than it was like, I hated it so much too, because it was like it just rubbed it in, and I was like failing at the car flipping thing and failing at being an entrepreneur and getting this more passive income or whatever. The car flipping thing wasn't really that passive, but it still did give me a lot of free time. The main thing was just, like, I just had to check Craigslist frequently for when the deals would come up and go grab them. But a lot of times I'd have, like, all day free because no deals would come up that I'd have to go look at. So then I would just have all day free. And I was also, actually, that was when I started YouTube, too. So I was doing the car flipping thing, and I have another YouTube channel. It's just based on like car stuff, car repairs, just car stuff. And so actually that's still getting me money now. That is actually purely passive income now, the car thing. It took a lot of work to make all those videos. I didn't even know if it'd make any money or anything, but actually it consistently gives me about $100 a month now, which doesn't seem like much, but it's been doing that for like over a year now. And that $100 a month, though, even if I don't make any videos, will just keep coming in over the next like at least 5 years, because most of it is car repair stuff, and those won't stop getting the same amount of views until that specific car just gets so old to where they're just starting to end up in the junkyard and people aren't fixing them anymore. But that'll take at least like 5 more years. It could go longer than that before these videos die down and I stop getting that $100 a month. So that's actually some pretty passive income, basically truly passive income that I have right there. But anyway, I ended up getting like a normal full-time job for a little bit because the car flipping thing was failing. And I actually was a guy that, this video is getting really long. I hope it's not like way too long, but I don't know. I just want to go over my whole story. So I ended up getting a full-time, like a normal job at a car repair shop. I was friends with the owner, and it was because I think one guy who bought one of my cars it was a BMW, got the car, it was this 5 Series. He got a pre-inspection done at that shop. And then I ended up going back there to get him to do a diagnosis or something for me. And we ended up becoming like really good friends. And then I ended up selling some cars for him, and he would give me 10% of that when I was flipping cars as well, which was cool. Because if it was a car that sold for like $4,000, I'd get $400 from it, and all I had to do was sell it. I just had to make the Craigslist ad and meet up with the people and stuff. So that was a good extra source of income too. But I ended up working for him, and I hated it. It was horrible. We were like really good friends before. And then I ended up hating the guy. I only worked there for like a few months before I quit. But I hated it so much. But right about when I started that job, though, I had a friend who knew I flipped cars. And he had a car on this thing called Turo, this app. I'd never heard of it. I didn't know what it was. He actually, he was a pretty wealthy guy. He did some kind of like tech job or something. But he had a Honda NSX. And he put that thing on Turo, and he was telling me he would price it at like $1,000 a day. So somebody would rent it for a day, get $700. He said he had stopped doing it. He didn't really like doing it, actually. I think he made quite a bit of money. It wasn't worth it for him. And he had kids too. But he was like, dude, since you flip cars, you should do this. You should combine the car flipping with Turo. And I looked into it and ended up, I had like $8,000 left. I'd lost about $4,000. I bought a car for $7,800. I think I just pretty much spent all that money. In hindsight, I should have bought a cheaper one, but when I did it, I wanted a good car. I bought one car, and it was easy to be able to rent that one car out while I had the full-time job. You could do Turo with basically what it is, it's like Airbnb if you don't know, but for cars. It's a really easy way to start basically your own little car rental business, but without having to deal with, the insurance and the marketing costs and stuff, because Turo takes care of that for you. So you can start with just one car. Or it's a good way to get a free car. You can rent it out a little bit and just to get your car payments, taken care of. A lot of people do that. Or you can turn it into a business, like a big business. There's a lot of people that have 50 cars, 100 car fleets on there. But anyway, I had this one car, and you could easily do 4 or 5 cars by yourself while having a full-time job. You could do more, to be honest. But I got that one car. I liked it. Then I got a second car. I think it was still when I had the full-time job. And then I hated the job so much. It was affecting my mental health so much that I ended up quitting that. And I was lucky I was able to get, this was during COVID, so I was able to get the unemployment income. And they were giving out a lot of it then. It wasn't normal unemployment. They gave way more money out. There were people that had minimum wage jobs, and then when they got unemployment, they were getting way more money from the unemployment than the job they made, which made absolutely no sense to me. Sometimes the government just does the dumbest shit. But anyway, for me, I was able to get that unemployment and some stimulus checks and stuff like that, and all that money I got, I just put it in the business. I was just buying up cars with that. And this is another thing that was, had the potential to be, it is pretty passive. I got it up to, I did it full time for 4 years, and it can be very passive. It was pretty passive. I got it up to a 7-car fleet, was doing it full time. And this was the first time in my life that I had a business that I really liked, or a job or whatever. I was pretty much doing everything myself, wasn't really hiring people, so I don't know, maybe it wasn't a full business, or whatever you like to call it. I like to call it a business. And I got it up to 7, I kind of got it up to 8 cars, but they kept getting crashed, so really it was 7 was the most I had. I had 7 cars for 2.5 years or something like that. Loved the business, but the main thing was just that I couldn't travel. It was really hard to move to. I didn't like the place where I lived. I at least wanted to move somewhere else. And what I really want is full freedom. I want to be able to travel. And yeah, you could definitely, at first I wanted to build up that business really big to where I could just hire somebody else to run it full time. And obviously that would give me the chance to travel. But that'd be very risky to get it done quickly. You'd have to take out a lot of debt. And going from like running it yourself to be able to hire somebody full time is like a massive jump. You need to have at least 30, maybe like 40 cars to be able to hire somebody like full time where you could travel a lot. And you need, yeah, you know, I was parking them in the street. You have to make the leap to rent out like a parking lot and spend a lot of money on that and everything. It's kind of a big jump. But then I found out about this thing on YouTube as well. Basically just learned all this stuff from YouTube. I kind of learned how to do a lot of Turo stuff on YouTube. Where I was traveling and I got really angry that I couldn't travel more because I was really addicted to traveling. And another thing too is my dating life was suffering. I didn't have a girlfriend or anything, and I found it was a lot easier to meet girls that I liked in Latin America when I was traveling. So there's another thing why I wanted to travel more. I was addicted to traveling for that reason too. And I started looking on the internet. I don't know how I learned about this or heard about this in the past, probably through YouTube as well. But I started YouTubing like how to buy websites on Flippa. Somehow I'd heard of this. And I found this one channel, I think it's called I bought a course from them as well, too. It's called the Digital Investors Show, I think the channel's called. Very small channel, it has like 2,000 subscribers. When I found this, I got really excited. Like, what you don't know about Flippa or these websites, whatever, not just Flippa, but like these blog type of sites that are online. And I'm sure you've seen them, like even the big sites like New York Times will do all these articles, like the 10 best washing machines or whatever, and they'll have Amazon links to the washing machines. These are all affiliate links, and they make a lot of money. They only make a little bit of money with each link when somebody clicks on it. Well, not with all affiliate links. Some affiliates, like if they're selling something like a treadmill or a washing machine, they could get a lot of money with each sale. But even something small, like if it's a $30 item and a lot of people buy it, they're getting a lot of money. Like these blog pages that you see that are ranking up in like the top number 1 or even the front page of Google, they're making a lot of money on those. A lot of these sites, a lot of them too, they could be like a cooking recipe site that some housewife does or something from her house. That has like amateur pictures of herself cooking. A lot of those sites are making like over $100,000. Well, they could be making like over $1 million a year. A lot of them, they're ones that make like over $100,000 a month, which is crazy. And you can set, these websites can be bought and sold very, very easily on sites like Flippa. And on Flippa, you can buy these sites. You can buy ones for under $1,000. There's a ton of them on there. Or you can buy ones up to multi-million dollars on the same site, even Flippa, which is insane to me. And they can be sold on the same site very, very easily. And the average sort of sale price for these blog type of sites, you can also buy like e-commerce sites and stuff in there as well, but the people that I found, they taught the more blog site approach, and it's because it's easier, there's no inventory to deal with, it's safer, and it's easier to make it more passive. And you just have to hire writers to write the articles, maybe like an editor, and then like a tech guy to do tech sort of stuff and fix stuff on the website. And the great thing is you can hire all these people off of the site like Upwork. You can hire people that live, in Pakistan or in the Philippines and hire them for like dirt cheap. But then you're making your money off of hopefully like an American or a U.S. Visitors that spend a lot of money. So you're making money off the U.S. market, but then you're able to hire people for very, very, very cheap in other countries. And obviously this can be done from a laptop. You can live wherever you want. It's very intriguing to me because you could have money and buy a site, and on average they'll sell for about 3 times the yearly profit. So a website that makes, let's say, $1,000 a month would sell for about $36,000. So if you want a salary of, let's say $2,000 a month, you could buy a website for $70,000 about, and you could have a $2,000 a month passive income. And this can be very, very passive, especially if you buy a site that's already bringing in that income, that's already proven to be passive. They might already have writers in place and all that stuff they're already hiring, and you can just hire the same people. You can buy stuff like this. But the thing is, you don't want to do this without learning it. Just let me say that. That was why I bought a course and had to do this too. This is a more expensive course. I paid $2,300 for this course. So I'm learning to do this stuff now. I'm also learning to do YouTube. I quit my car rental thing. I sold almost all the cars off except for one. There's one that the lady just keeps renting it, so it's still bringing in passive income. And now tomorrow, I'm actually moving to the Dominican Republic. I was going to move to I might have went to Colombia or somewhere in Latin America anyway, but now I'm going to move to Dominican Republic because I visited there in January for a couple weeks, and I met a girl there, and pretty much my girlfriend now, but I'm going to move over there, and hopefully it'll work out with her. But right now I'm basically sort of making no income except from that one car a little bit, but I have enough money now to where I could easily live for like a year without working at all. So what I'm going to do is just work on this blog stuff and then work on YouTube a lot, and hopefully build up a very passive source of income, be able to make a lot more money in the future from that.